Hello, this is your weekly space news roundup for the 27th of June 2021, read by me, Philip Day of giant-leap.space. In today's episode, as Armed Forces Week comes to a close, UK Space Command host American counterparts. SmallSpark Space Systems have completed successful first test of the S4 Hive engine. Raptor Aerospace rebrands to Gravitilab Aerospace Services. German company HyImpulse are all set to begin engine testing of their own in Shetland. It may not be UK space news per se, but Kerbal Space Program is 10 years old. We'll briefly discuss its legacy. And the hashtag job of the week this week comes from RAL Space at Harwell. Find us on patreon.com/giantleap for other formats, our awesome new space store, and unique membership perks such as access to our Discord server. As the nation celebrates the armed forces, UK Space Command hosts US Space Command at High Wycombe. Chief of the Air Staff, Air Chief Marshal Sir Mike Wigston, joined his Space Chiefs, Air Vice Marshal Harvey Smith and Air Vice Marshal Paul Godfrey, the UK Director Space and Commander UK Space Command, respectively, to host the head of the US Space Command, General James H. Dickinson, at High Wycombe. High Wycombe is the home of the Royal Air Force's headquarters and the HQ location of UK Space Command 2, making it quite the hub of activity around the fledgling UK Command, which took over from the RAF as a single service guardian of UK space interests earlier this year. Worryingly, despite positive-sounding words from the General, he described the UK as, quote, one of our closest allies in all domains, which is a departure from the, quote, our closest ally, which has been the UK privileged position since the Second World War, one we pay for as the second highest contributor to NATO by a perceptible margin, over a third more than the next country, Germany. It's such a significant spending commitment from the UK that were we to pull out of the NATO alliance, it'd be the equivalent of losing the Netherlands, Poland, Spain and Canada, who are all top 10 contributors themselves, and with almost $92 billion left over. However, nuance aside, a number of in-depth discussions are said to have been held between the two close friends on joint working, the Combined Space Operations Initiative, Operation Olympic Defender, and the NATO Space Centre were all key topics of discussion, the RAF tells us. Commander of the UK Space Command, Paul Godfrey, summed it up. Being able to host General Dickinson today at the new UK Space Command provided the opportunity to discuss a great many things face to face. He continued, the global future is uncertain, but both the UK and US are aligned on their desire to ensure space is safe for all to use. There can be no doubt then that the other topics of conversation will have extended beyond cooperation in low Earth orbit and anti-satellite threats from China to the perhaps worrying geopolitical implications of Russian cosmonauts who are now agreed to visit the new Chinese space station Tiangong, according to the Director General of Roscosmos himself, the Russian space agency. Further Russo-Chinese collaboration that threatens so-called Western supremacy above the Kármán line is close collaboration on their own lunar village concepts, which are exciting to scientists but no doubt worrying to political and military leaders alike. SmallSpark Space Systems have fired their S4 engine for the first time. The Welsh company has been working closely with academic institutions to bring their proprietary ignition system to a testable state, and CEO Joseph Ward was ecstatic to share with us a roaring success on the very first test. Protecting the system by running fuel-rich on the first run, a move designed to keep the peak combustion temperatures down initially, has already yielded test results closer to peak efficiency running than was expected. This success hails a summer of continued rapid testing by the company, as their chief propulsion engineer and CEO pushes for the Frost Micro and Frost 1 rockets to be tested with these engines over the next 18 months to 4 years, and the scale is increased to 35 kilonewton variants before the end of 2021. Raptor Aerospace has disappeared from LinkedIn entirely in an instantaneous rebrand to Gravitilab Aerospace Services. The business explained the move in this press release. We wanted to reflect these exciting changes with a brand that helps people understand what we do and why we're passionate about it. We're all about making microgravity and space environments accessible, they said. Tantalisingly, the company has promised more revelations at the Spacecom Expo, taking place on the 7th and 8th of July. A link to how to attend the free event is in the description. We are not alone. HyImpulse, a German launch startup, has come to Shetland to complete engine testing. Proof perhaps that small launch companies don't need big infrastructure. An arrangement of 5 shipping containers on the apron at Skatster Airport and no obvious protection for the surface of the apron was all that appears to have been required, alongside a couple more containers worth of kit, including propellants, to complete a number of hot fire tests of their 75 kilonewton hybrid engine, which they hope to launch in a 2-stage rocket, with an interesting arrangement: first stage with 4 sea-level engines, and an upper with a further 4 engines, this time for vacuum. Giant Leap is now opening up to sponsors for both the weekly Space News Roundups and the hashtag Job of the Week to keep the publication going through what is undoubtedly going to be a busy time, as I said last week. Thanks to the extreme generosity of my Patreon supporters, we've managed to come this far. But if you'd like to join them, head over to patreon.com/giantleap. Or if you'd like to support the channel by sponsoring the news roundup or the hashtag Job of the Week, please do get in touch and we can discuss it. Kerbal Space Program is 10 years old. Happy birthday, Kerbal Space Program, a space startup story like no other. Back in 2010, Felipe Falange, the lead developer, joined Squad, a company that didn't even develop software, but he persuaded his new employers to allow him to begin development of KSB, which was compiled for the first time in 2011. And 10 years later, thousands of children, enthusiastic adults, NASA engineers, and space CEOs have enjoyed the game as an outlet for a shared passion for space, rockets, and keeping the pointy end up. Indeed, many a career has the game spawned. Scott Manleys is a UK voice now world famous in the gaming community for his tutorials on how to play the game, which have since spun out into a fully fledged YouTube space educator career, a pattern shared by others too. Indeed, before I founded Giant Leap, I wrote the Moon Free Return tutorial on the KSP forum. Who knew? Pretty much nobody. The impact that this game has had on the global space industry probably cannot be overestimated. Elon Musk is probably the game's most famous fan, who now leads SpaceX as chief engineer and CEO. And, empirically, many a space professional I speak to through Giant Leap had their interest in space ignited, reignited, or enhanced by Kerbal Space Program. For now, Google returns a string of inspiring humans when searching for, quote, list of famous astronauts. But the truth is, many around the world will be more familiar with Jeb, Bill, Bob, and Valentina than with many genuine astronauts. But that isn't necessarily a bad thing, because little green Kerbals are a gateway drug. What started out as tin figures in Felipe's teenage fireworks have now inspired a generation, several of whom will go on to be genuine astronauts and engineers, inspiring in the real world, in the real near-future edition of life. The hashtag Job of the Week this week comes from RAL Space at Harwell Space Cluster. They're looking for a couple of space systems engineers. Systems engineering is a critical role that helps to bring together each of the specialist subsystems into a cohesive whole that actually functions as a spacecraft, the linchpin of the design process. If that axle on which the process turns sounds like you, head over to the link in the description. If you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else there's a like button, please smash it. It's a great way to ensure Giant Leap gets the support we need to continue bringing you the news. On social media, we're using the hashtag Giant Leap, where we usually post several times a day. If you'd like to be a part of it there, come and join us there. Thanks for checking in, and until next time, remember that every giant leap is set up by thousands of small steps. You've been watching a giant-leap.space news roundup.